And we'll do this. Okay. And Andrea went away. I don't know where Andrea went.
No.
But hopefully Andrea will come back and join us. Giving Facebook a minute or two to let everybody know that we're here, because today, let's see if anybody's joining us yet. Yeah, we got one person joining us. Oops. Whoops.
You even got my hair did for today.
Oh, look at you. You got it all going on there.
In case nobody noticed.
Okay, yeah. Well, no, but that's okay. And I said earlier with everybody in the green room, it's actually the first time I actually have tea for tea time today. So cheers, everybody. Somebody else said they had tea. Who else had tea? Steve? Steve got tea. Yeah,
good to see you off the vodka, after 4 o'clock martini.
I know. Well, my diagnosis last week, it's like, God damn it, can't drink anymore. Can't
sugarless tea.
Oh no.
Well, I supposedly I can have like red wine. So, but just
so not all bad.
Just not in the quantities that I like to drink it though. But
look, I know a guy. I'll hook you up.
I can't do the edibles because that'll just make me want sweets. Right. So it's like, God, that's not going to help. Oh my God.
And that's why I like restrain myself.
Oh, Amanda, don't worry about it. Edibles are legal. she's over there going, oh my goodness. Can we talk about this? Yes, we can. Oh, here comes Andrea again. Okay, I didn't want to start with Andrea.
Speaking of.
That was good. All right. So Andrea's coming in. Somebody's asking. Andrea's coming in. And I don't know, Beth, if it was you or Sarita or who asked for us to do this, but this was one of the hardest tasks all of us have done recently. We're going to tell everybody about what our favorite books of all time are. So here we go. So it's going to go, Amanda, you and I are going to go last. So Amanda, Burgess, it'll go Amanda, Gabe, Steve, and Andrea. So Amanda, take it away.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get, I can't share.
Oh, wait. That's because I didn't do my job.
The tyranny.
The tyranny. I'm not letting anybody in. Hold on. Wait a minute. It's being obnoxious here. There we go. Now you should be able to.
Okay, so my first pick that I have is Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. The reason I picked this book is because this is the book that changed reading for me. When I read this book, this was the first book that I got to the end of, and I was so angry that it was over. And I was like, well, how can it just be over? I don't want it to be over. I want more. And for me, that was just, the tipping point into my love of books and reading. I've always loved reading prior to that, but that book just really cemented my love of reading. And thankfully, Gail Carson Levine is a prolific writer because she wrote so many books that I just kept reading throughout my childhood and well into adulthood. And I had the pleasure of meeting her at one point. Totally random at an event, and someone's like, oh, by the way, this is Gail Carson Levine, and I totally fangirled out. I was like, oh my God, I love you, and I told her about how Ella Enchanted changed my life, and so that is why I had to go ahead and present that here today with everybody. So
I love it. And and even though these are like older books and they're our favorites of all time, I think there's still could be really good gift books for people. So even though we're still in the holiday season, sometimes an older title that's so for maybe there's a child out there that hasn't read that yet because there's so many other things that are out there. So
absolutely,
we still have the gift giving. I still think we have the gift giving mode going here. Okay, Gabe, take it away.
I will share my screen and. The first book I'm talking, it's 2 books here, but really I'm talking about Dancing at the Rascal Fair. And as we were talking about the task of finding your favorite books, your top 3, I can never do that. Top 10 albums on a desert island. Too many albums for those who know what an album is. And same thing with books. But, there are books, as Amanda was saying, that clicked in our brains and that stay with us. And I just remember it was in the old days where publishers used to buy each other's rights. Somebody had a hardback, but they didn't have a paperback imprint, so we bought we bought the paperbacks. So this was an Athenaeum book, which was Athenaeum is now with Simon. Got bought out by Simon & Schuster. It's their literary imprint, but they were their own publisher once upon a time. And we bought Dancing at the Rascal Fair from Athenaeum and featured it as one of our paperback reprints back in like 1988, 89, maybe at the latest. And I just loved Ivan Doig, and I continued to read him ever since. These books are set late last century, turn of this century, Scottish immigrant families and their offspring settling in Montana, sheep herders. And you have the forest fires like you see in English Creek. You have the barbecue picnics. I just could still remember reading the piece of the 4th of July picnic and there being, green onions in the potato salad. And it's like, you do have to have green onions in your potato salad. And they're just wonderful books, wonderful tellings, wonderful characters that set you in this world. And these two should be read together.
Okay.
I can't say which.
I thought you were cheating on having 2 books there.
I wasn't. I just might as well mention the other because they're so connected, and the characters leap on into one. One is the scenes from one blend into the other, but they're just really a wonderful immersion into this family's world, and getting lost in a blizzard, and having to round up the doggies and the sheep and the high plateaus, and moving your sheep from eating area to eating area, and all that kind of wonderful stuff, and really great writing. And their books they've stuck with me, and they'll stick with you. As I was mentioning, Fiction from the West is so good.
And he continued to be really good all through all his books, but I think that's just one of those classics. It's a really good.
Yeah, and you can read him. He's got so many books.
Yeah,
you can go on with him, but
big fan. There you go. All right, Steve. I'm so curious to see what yours first.
All right. Well, speaking of blizzards, this has a bit of that in it. You can see this. Oh no, it's not.
Kind of sideways. There you go. Okay, yeah, there. Yep.
You
right there, sort of. Yeah.
It's War and Peace. Yeah.
War and Peace.
Tolstoy. But not only, it's a great novel. I don't have to go into the details about it, but I read it from this old edition that my mom had in her bookcase that was published by Simon & Schuster in 1942. So it was during the Second World War. And one of the interesting things is on the end papers, it has on one end, it's Napoleon's march through into Russia, right? And then on the back end, and you can't really see it here, but it's it's Hitler's route into invasion of Russia. So there's like some really cool things about this edition, plus the blurbs from other authors. It's like Turgenev and Virginia Woolf and E.M. Forster. Turgenev. There are things in War and Peace that are unbearable, and things that are wonderful. A kind of a backhanded review, I have to say.
I might have to use that for one of our blurbs that we did.
So anyway, War and Peace. There's lots of editions. I'm sure you've got in the store. I showed the vintage as a nice.
We've got the vintage.
But I'm sure you've also got some nice hardcover editions that would make a nice gift.
Yeah. No, and isn't it I love that it's like your mom's story. There's all kinds of good stuff.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. All right, Andrea, what do you got for our first one?
Okay, hold on. I'm sharing my screen here.
Okay.
The first one I want to talk about is Dalva. Come on. Oh, Lordy. What did I do? Okay, there you go. Sorry about that, guys. So I want to talk about Dalva, a novel by Jim Harrison. I've had the honor and privilege of representing Jim Harrison's work since I first started as a rep back in August of 1998. And he had a novel on that first list I sold, actually. Another great book. the road home. But Dalva is just one of those modern classics that I think everyone who's interested in American fiction must read at some point. It revolves around the story of the title character, Dalva, who's around 45 and is having a moment of crisis. She was a wild child, and gave up her son for adoption when she was young, and went all over the country, had numerous lovers and wild adventures, but she decides that she wants to find her son, and so that's what she does. And it's just such a beautiful novel. It's also funny as heck. I mean, that's something that Harrison is known for, is he can talk about the grand subjects in literature, but he's hilarious and oftentimes ribald. That great quote there that you see on your screen from Louise Erdrich basically says it all. Dalva is suspended in its own beauty, a book to read with trust and exuberance. So there you go. That's my first pick. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Love it. And Jim Harrison, I mean, there again, he's just somebody that continues to write just like great books. So it's a good one to start with there.
Yeah, he passed away a few years ago, and it's just sad to know that we're not going to get
anything else.
Yeah. Oh, I do need to tell you about this. I forgot to say that this that's a reissue that we have coming out in early April of 2022. But the store should get copies in a little bit earlier than that, and it's going to go, because there's no street date.
Okay.
It should be available in March.
Okay.
If
Perfect.
the supply chains.
But I mean, I know he passed, but he's got a breadth of work that will keep people satisfied for years.
Indeed.
Okay, Amanda, you go.
Hello. This was extremely difficult. I'm still upset.
Oh, don't, Serena, we're not upset with you.
No, it was a good exercise in thinking about what I value and in books. And I had to have a lot of talks with myself. I decided it was cheating to include anthologies, because that's really more than one work. And so I decided to think about it more as these are books that I find myself going back to over and over. And so my first book is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. And I didn't notice it at first, but someone who knows me very well noticed that all my picks today are sort of meta books that are books for people who love books. This is definitely one of them, I'd say. So Jane Eyre is a character that inspires me. She's uncompromising. She says, "I need not sell my soul to buy bliss." She's also a character who loves books and references them all the time in the course of everyday life. A lot of people have pointed out that there are many problematic aspects in this book, which is totally true. And I think about them a lot, and I've struggled with why I love this book so much. There's the romance is really strange and often borders on creepy and sort of abusive in tone. There's a very, very stereotypical depiction of madness. So much so that it's a trope that is recognized throughout a lot of different books and pop culture. But I still keep going back to Jane Eyre, and she had a hard childhood, and she remains true to herself, and she's devoutly Christian in her way, but also weirdly witchy and connected to nature and the sublimity of nature and the wild around her. Has this really strange spirituality. So I'm a Jane Eyre person. I know some people talk about the binary between Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre people. I'm this one. So my copy is
Wuthering Heights, but that's okay.
I know.
Might say something about our personality. No, I'm kidding.
So I've got this weird St. Martin's Press. It's very, it has a lot of critical essays and annotations, but we have a beautiful, beautiful copy in the store from Chiltern Editions.
Oh, those are so good.
And I'm going to put the link for it in the comments right now.
The Chilterns are really good editions.
I think it's a great gift for the holidays. So that's Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte is my first pick.
Okay.
That's beautiful. I'm happy that you're touting that Chiltern edition. They're really beautiful books.
And talk about a great gift. I mean, that is a great, I gave because Alice Hoffman and I share Wuthering Heights love in common. And I actually gifted her the Chiltern edition of that a few years ago. And
that's nice.
Love her. Okay.
Nice work.
Yeah. So my pick, my first two picks were a no-brainer. My third pick could have been a bunch of different books, but the first book still to this day, and I will share screen myself, Always and Forever. If nobody has read this is a must read, no matter what. Let's see, do I get it? Ta-da! Patrick Susskind, Perfume.
Oh, read that a million years ago.
Right, but does it just like stay with you to this day? I mean, this is one of those books that, yes, it's about, Kim DeVoe's coming in, by the way. So Kim DeVoe's coming in hot here. So we'll get some good picks from Kim. But let's keep talking about Perfume for a minute. It's basically about a murder, or about a murderer, I should say. I'm going to stop screen sharing because I like to look at everybody's faces when I'm talking to them. 18th century French boy is born into extreme poverty in the streets of France. He has an innate an incredible sense of smell, and he becomes a perfumer, but he has no scent. No one can smell him. He has no human scent. I mean, and so it looks at all of these things of what scent is and means, and the olfactory senses, and it's creepy. It's so creepy. And the murders that he commits is to try to encapsulate scent. I don't know. It was just, I'm not going to do it justice at all, but it is just one of those books that if you haven't read it, read it. This is a good translation that we have. There's some translations that are out there that are a little bit different, that don't really have the real ending. So if you get one of those weirder translations, you might not really know exactly what happens at the end. And what happens at the end is like, holy cow. Anyways, if you haven't read Perfume, it's a must read. So Kim DeVoe, are you ready to go? We've got around the room. So we've got, are you ready for your first one?
I can go. Let me find my book. Oops, it's not here. Here it is. Okay. First of all, I have so many favorites. I can't pick just three. So I'm limiting myself to the books published in the last 25 years.
Okay.
And even then, there aren't just three books, but these are the ones I'm doing today are three that I loved. And I wanted to do one that was nonfiction, and I'm going to start with that one. It's The Emperor of All Maladies by Siddhartha Mukherjee. It won a Pulitzer Prize in 2011. And Mukherjee is both a renowned oncologist and a very, very talented writer. And I still remember when John Hughes sold me this book at Warwick's.
Really?
I told him, I'm a doctor, I'm a pathologist, I do cancer all day long. I don't want to read a book about cancer. I read about cancer every day. And I already know the history of cancer. And he insisted that I buy it. and he wouldn't let me leave the store. So I bought it, and it sat on a shelf in my living room for months. And finally one day it was like raining. I had nothing to do. I pulled it off the shelf, and then that was it. I couldn't put it down, and it's long. I'm like paraphrasing the blurb on the book. It's basically a sweeping epic of obsession, brilliant researchers, dramatic new treatments, euphoric success, and tragic failure, and the relentless battle by scientists and patients against an equally relentless, wily, and elusive enemy. It's magnificent. And, all of us have had our lives touched by cancer. This is just so interesting. The whole way he approaches this is brilliant. Cancer is almost, cancer is weird. It doesn't die. Cancer cells don't die like normal cells, which is, part of what makes them cancer cells. And this, I can't even tell you, you will never think about cancer the same way. And it's brilliant. It's inspiring. It's the stories, they're incredible.
So Beth's on here saying, Kim's a doc. Wait, what? Kim's a doctor? Yes, Kim's a doctor. Yes, Beth Doherty is asking that question. Okay, Amanda Bareilles, you're up.
Okay, so my second book, like everyone's saying, is really hard to pick. So my picks are books that had an impact on my life. So this next one is called Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Oh, hope I said that right. And the reason that I picked this book, actually, because this is actually the first book that I ever listened to on audio when it came out. Libro FM, support your local independent bookstore with Libro FM. And when I read it, I was selling kids books primarily for a while. So it had been a while since I had read an adult book. And this was just so captivating when I was reading it. I listened to this on a drive up to San Francisco, and I was hooked. It is a beautiful romance novel. It is just absolutely amazing. And when I was in San Francisco, I remember I had to go to like the CVS really quick to pick up something. So like a 3-minute drive, I'm like, play for the 3-minute drive. And it was just so, before I knew it, my 6-hour drive from LA to San Francisco was done. And I'm like, wait a minute, I want to stay in the car even more. I must finish reading this book. It is a romance between the son of the first female president of the United States and a prince of England. And they just fall head over heels for each other, and got to keep it on the down low. But again, listening to an audio, it was just spectacular. And since this was like the perfect first book for me to listen to on audio, because I was very skeptical, as I know many book lovers are, making that transition to audio. And since then, I have listened to a lot more books on Libro FM, and really am enjoying audiobooks. It really, for the long drives that I have to make, it's a really wonderful thing to have in the car with me. So so this was my introduction into audiobooks, and now I love audiobooks. So
Love it. And I love the choice. And yes, Libro is, everybody needs to ditch Audible and get on Libro. They actually have a really good switch. So, and you're not going to pay any more on Libro than you do on Audible. So make that switch, everybody. Okay, Gabe.
All right. And I'm unmuted. And my next book, and I probably talk about this more. I've talked about this book before, but it is an author that I cherish. I've really been really proud to sell Louise Erdrich for these many years at Harper. This book was nominated for the Pulitzer when it was published, The Last Report on the Miracle of Little No Horse. And it was just one of those books that, again, just stays with you. It just, of all her books, this is my favorite still. It will probably be, even if she writes another masterpiece, this will probably remain my favorite, because that's where we are with our books. So I just want to make sure that everybody, if I haven't talked about this enough, I should have picked something else because I realize right now I've probably spoken about Louise and this book in particular a lot. But you know, it's somebody I can't say enough of in a book that I think is terrific and have always thought so. You know, it'll get you reading Louise Erdrich well and beyond this book as well. So always.
That was the hard thing too for me, Gabe, because I was like, do I pick favorite authors? Because I have favorite authors that I have books. It's so, oh, this was so hard because, you know,
Body of work,
Alice Hoffman, Anne Rice, who just passed. I mean, it's just like there's so many authors that are out there that I adore. But but Body of Work, it was a good, I should have done that. Oh well, next time we'll do favorite authors of all time or something. I don't know. Maybe that's
again, same thing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Steve Watinsky.
All right. Well, one of my favorite books of all time, and it's often called a lot of people think it's the best English novel ever written. Many people think it. If I can make it clear, can you see it? It's Middlemarch. It's Middlemarch by George Eliot. Like Amanda, I first came to this by the audiobook, and the audiobook that I listened to was read by Juliet Stevenson. If you know the actress Juliet Stevenson from Truly, Madly, Deeply, she's been in many things. She is so good. Her vocal range, her characterizations. It's like if you read or listened to the Harry Potter books, Jim Dale, like she's as equal to Jim Dale in her performance of the book. So outside of her performance, it's just a brilliant novel. It's complicated. There's romance, there's disillusionment with romance, there's really some intricate plotting going on. It's brilliant on so many levels. And it also has one of my favorite first lines of a book. Miss Brooke had that kind of beauty which seems to be thrown in relief by poor dress. Which, I mean, to me, that's just an incredible first line and tells you so much about the character just in one first line.
Yeah.
So the edition I held up was it's the Penguin Classic edition, and the foreword is by Rebecca Mead, who wrote an entire book about Middlemarch called My Life in Middlemarch. But I'm sure, again, you have many editions of it, probably some nice hardcover editions as well.
Yeah, love it. Thanks, Steve. Okay, Andrea, choice number 2.
Thanks a lot. Okay, come on. Why isn't it working?
No, you're working.
Okay. So the second one, I couldn't decide.
Oh, it went back to Delva, I think. Hold on.
Are you sure? Am I sharing? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, but it's showing Delva again.
Huh. Okay. Can you see it now?
Still Delva.
Wow. Okay. Let me just go this way. How about
There
that?
we go. Yep.
Okay.
Now we're on.
Okay, great. So I love Iris Murdoch. I think she's my favorite all-time author. I haven't read all of her books because she's passed on these many years now, 20 plus years, and I just don't want to get to the end of her oeuvre. So I've parceled them out, but I couldn't decide between The Sea and A Severed Head, and lo and behold, Everyman Library, an imprint of Random House, has a collection. They have these 2 novels in their library as one volume, The Sea and A Severed Head, with a great introduction by Sarah Churchwell, who's like been a fan and studied her work forever. The Sea won the Booker Prize in 1978 and follows the life, as told, it's narrated by Charles Arrowby, who's lately retired from the London stage, in love with himself, and is one of the most remarkable unreliable narrators, I think, in English literature. In some ways, Murdoch's books are always told from the perspective of an unreliable narrator, usually just completely lying to himself. It's usually a him. It's usually a man that narrates most of her books. Not always the case, but I would say 95%. It's also something that's like runs through Iris's or Murdoch's novels is besides obsessional love gone out of control, is a messiah character who always leads people astray, not who that person says they are. There's a bit of this in both of these books, The Sea, and then A Severed Head. The Severed Head was also, she adapted it into a play. And so that will give you a sense of the sharp and witty dialogue that you will find in A Severed Head. Also, an unreliable narrator and somebody who is completely lost. And let me see, that would be, what's that guy's name? I can't think of it. Martin Lynch Gibbon. And he's a wine dealer in London, unfaithful to his wife, who's also having an affair with his psychoanalyst. So it's pretty great stuff. They're dark comedies full of social commentary and just tragicomic masterpieces, I would say. Let's see, what does Sarah Churchwell says? She says, Murdoch's novels are not merely cerebral exercises in ideas about moral philosophy, ethics, and aesthetics, although those ideas shape her fiction. They are also shot through with the dark energies of occult forces, variously figured as Eros, the id, the unconscious, the repressed, the monstrous, the supernatural, the libidinous, ... Murdoch's fictional experiments fuse realism and the mystical. I can't tell you how amazing he is. And I hope that you can pick up one of her books. And that the Everyman volume is easy to get. If Warwick's doesn't have it in stock, they can special order it for you very quickly. And I'm sure there's one or two of her other novels on the shelves. I mean, that's kind of my measure of a store. If they have at least one Iris Murdoch in the shelves of the section,
let's hope we have one. Let's hope we have one. Yikes! Don't tell us, Amanda, if we don't. Don't tell Andrea.
Well, listen, if it is, I mean, I've seen them there before. Of course, I've checked, but
yeah, okay, there you go.
If there's not one right now, it's just because that you've sold it this week.
We sold it, so good. Exactly. All right, okay, Kim, are you ready? Because then the way the screen is, we'll go back up again if you're ready.
Not really ready, but I'll do it.
Okay.
Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. My next book is A Gentleman in Moscow.
Okay.
And I knew about this book, I'd heard of it. It's this book about some exiled Russian aristocrat, back in the 1920s. And I was not in it. The cover did nothing for me. And I thought, oh, it doesn't sound very interesting, but I wasn't going to read it. But then my book club picked it. So I read it, and oh my gosh, it is the most inspiring story and most beautiful story about a man who's an aristocrat who's exiled, but he's exiled to a luxury hotel across the street from the Kremlin in Moscow, and lives in an attic room. And instead of wallowing in self-pity, he embraces his new life and makes this absolutely magnificent life for himself and for everyone around him in the hotel over a 30-year time period. And it's just so unexpected and delightful, and he's funny and just an incredible, he's good at everything. He's charming, and the ending is fantastic and a huge surprise. So just wonderful book.
Love it. And that's the power of book clubs, though. I think that's
Totally.
another thing that is
Totally.
you're quote unquote forced to read some things,
Right.
but sometimes you just like you end up with the favorite book of all time.
Yeah.
From a
And I
book
have
club.
and you have these preconceived notions. I thought this was going to be depressing and,
Right.
boring. I was tired of reading about men, and
Yeah.
no.
I know. Yeah, Beth Johnson on here is saying the same thing. It's like encourages to read things that normally wouldn't. And I missed a comment earlier from Marlene when we were all talking about audiobooks that Tom Hanks, she thought, brought out the best of in the narration for The Dutch House, which
Yes.
I concur.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But I like The Dutch House. I read it just in book form and loved it, but he definitely added a great touch to that. Okay, Amanda Q, you're up.
I'm doing a last minute switcheroo. Could you?
Oh,
Can I-
man.
I don't know.
Can I-
Confirming your
sh-
convictions.
Can I share screen, Julie?
Yep. I don't know,
Okay.
because I've been influenced by what everybody's talking about too, because it's like I forgot about Alias Grace with Margaret Atwood. I mean, there's so many. Woman in White, Wilkie Collins. I forgot about some of those. So it's like you guys have been sparring my memory. Go ahead, Amanda.
Yep.
You can change though. Go ahead. We'll let you.
All right. I'm talking about Stiff by Mary Roach.
Oh yeah.
The Curious Lives of Human Cadavers.
Yep.
Sounds awesome, right? Super cheerful.
This is like a
Yeah.
book I'd like.
This
Yeah.
is the old school cover with the feet with the toe tags, and
We
this
don't
is the
see it
new
on screen
edition.
yet though.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, interesting. Hold on. Let's try this again. See it now?
It's trying to.
There it is.
There it is. Yep.
Okay. So this is the old school edition that I know and love. And they just recently re-released them. This is the new cover.
Ah.
Yeah. Okay, this doesn't seem like this would be a fun read. This is truly one of the most hilarious books I've ever read. And it made me fall in love with science writing. So there's really not much to say. I'll read what they say here. Cadavers for 2,000 years have been involved in science's boldest strides and weirdest undertakings. They've tested France's first guillotines, ridden the NASA space shuttle, been crucified in a Parisian laboratory to test the authenticity of the Shroud of Turin. It goes on. This book is wild. It will open your eyes. It will make you laugh. All of Mary Roach's books are great, but this one remains to me my favorite of hers. So that's Stiff by Mary Roach.
Love it. Love it.
I know it sounds morbid, but it's awesome.
No, are you kidding?
She's awesome.
Yeah. She's one of her Gulp and some other things too, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. So there again, if you like this, there's lots of other things to go to too.
She's got a new one just out too right now.
I think
Buzz,
you're right. Yeah.
which is not moving as well as the others, but
I think it's
Stiff
the
is
times we're in. I
hilarious.
think it's like, you know what I mean? It's like people not going to stores and seeing it and
the browsing factor.
right. Okay. My pick. You know, everybody's gonna be like, that's an old one, Julie. Everybody knows that one. But oh wait. Is that my email that I'm showing you all?
Andrew Gibley.
Maybe I'll
Andrew
stop sharing-
Tetrick isn't
Could be worse.
Maybe I'll stop sharing my email.
25,000
you'd think
unread.
after all these months, I would know what I'm doing here. For goodness sakes, everybody. Sorry. Okay, here comes my pick. I think. Let's see. And ta-da!
I was gonna talk
Meanie,
about
John Irving. This is just one of those books. I know John Irving, you know, people have read John Irving. They've read probably World According to Garp, Cider House Rules, blah, blah, blah. If you haven't read A Prayer for Owen Meany, go buy it, go read it right now. This book, there's not one thing about this book that I don't absolutely adore. Back in the 90s, there was a movie think it was called Simon
Simon
Birch.
Birch.
Simon Birch is like about the first 2 chapters, I think, of the book.
Bad remake, yeah.
Really bad. So, but if you are thinking that that's what this book is, it's not. It is like so much more. And it goes between current time, which was 87, back to the 50s and 60s. It has, Simon thinks he's God's purpose or something. I can't remember exactly what it is, but he is like put on earth as God's purpose. It's got everything. It is just one of those books that I absolutely adore. And when I'm on the floor and somebody's asking for, if nobody's read it, I put this in their hands. I love this book.
I was gonna talk about, there's a whole spectrum. John Irving from The Water Method Man, if you've never read that, loved it.
Okay.
To Garp, to The Hotel New Hampshire,
Hotel
to
New Hampshire.
Cider House, to this one, and Into the Son of the Circus, they're all just brilliant. I was gonna talk about The Water Method Man.
Okay, I haven't read that, so I might need to read that one because I've read the others, and you're right. It's just like there's just his commentary on those time periods is unsurpassed. It really
Sometimes
is.
he's a little heavy-handed, but he creates this world, this.
But he's kind of like, that's how I felt about Barbara Kingsolver a little bit, because like she's pretty heavy-handed on some of her commentary and stuff, and that's with John Irving. But it's brilliant though, and that's how I feel about Barbara too.
Yeah, I love the characters he creates in that world. When you're in the John Irving novel, it's almost like a Wes Anderson. There's an aesthetic, a feel to the world you're in.
I came close to talking about Cider House.
Right.
But,
I love Cider House. I was reading Cider House when Amanda was being born. I read Cider House.
Okay. See, there you
85.
go. Yeah, it is. There's just something about him. And anyways, but Prayer for Owen Meany, still one of my favorites. God, see, and that just reminded me like Salt. Anyways, I won't cheat anymore and tell you, throw in all these like bombs here. Okay, Amanda, third choice. And we're going a little longer today. Sorry, everybody, but these are our favorite books.
It's hard. Okay, so my third book is 1,000 Places to See Before You Die. The reason that I selected this book is because this is my life's goal. This is, I want to see everything and anything in the world. I actually have a little scratch off map that I scratch off every country I've ever been to. And I actually really, really love travel books in general. When I plan a trip, I go to the bookstore, I get the travel books, I sit there and I read the travel books, and people think I'm crazy. They're like, you can just look it up online. I'm like, it's not the same.
Right.
So for me to have this book, every time I go someplace, I have the travel books for that specific location. And then I always consult the 1,000 Places to See Before You Die and figure out how I can make them work, just because I want to see everything and I want to just travel the world. And I've been very fortunate enough to be to so many amazing places, but there's still so many places that I need to go to. And so that is why I have selected this as for my third and final pick. Again, life goals.
Love
That's
it.
a great choice.
It really is. I love that because it is just life goal.
I almost talked about Atlas Obscura.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it just, yeah. Okay, Gabe.
Feeling.
Share the screen, finish off with.
I don't know. I saw 2 things left on your screen. So does that mean you got?
Oh, no, I'm not going to talk about it. I was going to talk about Name of the Rose, but I started off with Name of the Rose and Lonesome Dove.
Okay.
We're going to be my first 2. And it's like, they don't need my help, and everybody, and Grapes of Wrath. Speaking of heavy-handed, but a book that changed my life. Look at that. I got 3 books in it.
I've been doing that too the whole time. You haven't noticed, have you?
But I decided to go with something a little different. And if you've never read The Diving Bell and the Butterfly by Dominique Bauby, it's a beautiful book. It is a small, little tiny trim. It is maybe 140 pages of small trim. Jean-Dominique Bauby was like editor-in-chief at Elle magazine in the 90s. He suffered a stroke, and part of his brain got damaged, and he developed this thing called locked-in syndrome. So it's just what it means. He was locked into himself. So he's intellectually completely aware of what's going on around him, but he can't move a muscle except for his left eyelid. And he dictated this book to his partner at the time, who is not, if you've seen the movie, it's a whole different thing. I actually like the movie too, completely different animal. But
So the same title?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it is, it's worth watching, I think, the movie. It's what's his name does it? Julian Schnabel, the director. The painter Julian Schnabel directed that. It did a really great job, took some liberties. But this novel, it's a memoir of his life before and through while he has locked-in syndrome. He passed soon after, I think before the book was published, he passed. But he literally dictated this thing just blinking in his left eye, which is what makes it so short. But it's a really powerful little book. This is one of those books that I had a bunch all the time. You know, I had like 5 on my shelf all the time, because anybody that came by, it's like, you got to read The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. Killer title, beautiful package, and its little trim, that little hardback trim. It's just great to hold and feel, and it's just beautifully written. It really is beautifully. I just like I said, it's one of those books that I keep a stack of things that I really, really like. And in the whatever that was, late 90s, probably 98, about when I read this, I just handing out the hardback to everybody I knew. So I something that is really quick, a quick read. Small books are in.
Yep.
We got stuff to do, and small, powerful things.
Yeah.
Like this will knock you out.
And that's, I mean, it is those small books that that stay with you too, even all that time, and all that you've read in between that time.
Yeah.
And it's still, somebody on here, I think Beth was saying that this is really good. It is really good. I've got more to add to my list. I thought I had kind of like figured out what you guys were all going to talk about. And I've got new ones to read too. Andrea, The Sea and the Sea, The Severed Head. I got to get that one.
Iris Murdoch.
I know. All right. Steve, what you got?
Okay, well, I'm going to stick with memoir here, and my favorite would be Angela's
Yay.
Ashes.
Yeah.
I mean, not
one
just
of the best books ever. Period.
What, Gabe?
One of the best books ever.
Yes, memoir or anything else. It's one of the best books I've ever read. It's about him growing up in extreme poverty. Frank McCourt in Ireland. Angela, of course, is his mother. It's hilarious and it's heartbreaking at the same time. I don't know if I've ever read a novel or a memoir that had so much that was both, combined. And his writing is just incredible. They're so poor, they come to America. I mean, they're living in the worst part of I think Limerick. It's been a while since I've read it. It's Limerick, and they're in the whatever the ghetto is, and it's just horrible where they're living. And so they come to New York, the family, and they're living in the ghettos of not Brooklyn, New York. But they're so poor, they have to move back to Ireland. That's how poor they are in New York. And
Wow.
There's just so many wonderful things in this novel, in this memoir. And if you haven't read it, you're in for a treat with Angela's Ashes.
And I think it was one of those things, and I'm really glad that you brought it up, because us of a certain age, I think have all read it, but there's been so many memoirs since. I mean, it was like the epitome of the memoir when it came out. It was just like that. But I think that it's one of the perennial ones that people need to come back to, the next generations of people.
And also stylistically, I'm not sure if people did this before him, but he doesn't use quotation marks and now there's a lot is written without quotations, but
right.
I can't remember a book reading
before that.
Yeah, and you understand completely who's talking throughout the book, but I don't know if that was done by someone else before Frank McCourt did it.
Right. What were you going to say, Gabe?
It's might be the best book I ever read. And when I honest to God, I think about all the books, and Deborah and I go, we read very different things, yet very similar things in some cases. But I don't know why it didn't even jump into my head, but that is possibly the best book I've ever read in my life. You cry, you laugh at the end. It's tis.
The best ending, like last chapter.
going up to Italy because the bottom floor floods and it's freezing. So you go up to Italy. I mean, there's just such a beautiful written book. The sentiment.
Love it.
Yeah.
Great choice. Yay.
Great choice.
Okay, Andrea, what do you got for us?
I am going to talk about, can you see the that distant land? I want to talk about Wendell Berry's story collection, That Distant Land. This is distributed by, it's from Counterpoint Press, and it's distributed.
Oh, did we freeze out? We lost Andrea.
Complete,
I think we lost you, Andrea, and this might be a problem. Let's see if I can stop her share screen. I think I can. Did that work?
No. Yep.
There it is. Yep. Okay. All right, Andrea, when you come back in, we'll talk about Wendell.
Well,
I can't.
There's
Back.
Are you back?
It's frozen.
You froze out. I'll talk to her in the chat if she's reading that. Kim, why don't you go with your next pick?
Okay. This book definitely doesn't need any help, but I'm doing it anyway.
There we go. I love it.
Okay, my third pick is the entire Harry Potter series. I have 3 boys, and when they were little, the books the first book had just come out, and I had to drive them around, preschool and then kindergarten, and we listened to books on tape in the car. Otherwise I went insane. And so we took the Harry Potter out of the library and started listening to it. And I wasn't going to read it, as an adult. I knew adults were reading it, but I was like, whatever, I'm too old.
Right.
And Jim Dale, of course, narrates it. And oh my God, he's absolutely brilliant as are the books, so much fun. And of course the books get better and better and, darker. We listened to them all, we read them all, in bed together. And then I alone read them all twice.
Wow.
That's how much I love Harry Potter. I went to New York and I saw Harry Potter and the Cursed Child on Broadway. I am a super fan, so I had to include Harry Potter.
I love that. And I think that, okay, Kim, but let me ask you this. How many midnight lines did you wait in to make the next book for your children?
I don't, we had time because we took our time because we read.
So they were already out.
Yeah. It wasn't a big.
Oh no, I got up at midnight when my daughter was, I did it for when, I can't remember which books, but the Crown book.
You're such a better
when
mom.
Crowns were around. And this was before it was super a big deal. So Crown book, there was 4 people waiting outside, me in my jammies and sweats kind of thing. One little kid dressed up like Harry Potter, and then 2 other people. And that was it. I mean, it was hilarious. So it was the 4 of us. So, I mean, I don't know which one that was, but then it became then the ones after that became these crazy midnight things. So
yeah. Oh, you're such a great mom.
Oh no. And I made sure that I saved the receipts. It's see what I did for you.
Kim, that was going to be one of my picks too. I really thought about it. That's one of the books I have on my prized possession book that I have. And I was given an ARC of the first Harry Potter when I was 13.
Oh my God.
Kelly Stidham sent a copy over.
Wow,
oh my
Kelly,
God.
That's a big deal.
And I still have it to this day.
Wow, that's a huge deal.
That's a huge deal.
That's why all you people out there, book reps are the coolest people on the face of the planet.
But Kim, I must know then, what is your house?
What? Oh, I'm not telling. Well, you could probably guess.
I'm a very proud Ravenclaw. I'm very proud of my Ravenclawness.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Hufflepuff.
Because that's the only other one you know.
For me too. I almost picked these too as one of my favorites. So
All right, Andrea, you're back.
Yeah, sorry about that. There's a storm in progress, so my internet is
being wonky. Do you want to talk about Wendell?
Yeah, sure do. As I was saying, I do.
We pretty much didn't hear anything, so you can start at the beginning.
Okay, so I had a hard time deciding, what my favorite books are. So I went for body of work, as Gabe was talking about. So that's why I chose Jim Harrison, Iris Murdoch, and now Wendell Berry. One of the most amazing American writers. He's an agrarian and writes a lot of nature titles and is a poet, a short story writer, and a novelist, as well as, has a large body of essays. This is a collection of short stories, and it's actually 1895. That's wrong. That's a typo up there. And this is from Counterpoint Press, which is distributed by Penguin now. For many years, it was a PGW publisher, and I had the honor and privilege of representing Mr. Berry's work, as well as Jim Harrison's back in the day. This story collection includes Fidelity, one of the greatest short stories written in the English language, and I'll fight you.
You'll go toe to toe on that. Let's go.
And it's truly worth the $18.95 price point for that story alone. It's absolutely gorgeously written. This book is shot through with recurring characters from his novels and other short stories. And these people all hail from the fictional Kentucky town called Port William. He calls it the Port William Fellowship, his collection of folks. And I do believe that Wendell Berry should win the Nobel Prize for Literature one day. I really hope he does. He better be on that short list, I'm telling you. So then, it was hard to come up with this. I realized that William Boyd's Any Human Heart would have been a great one.
Oh my God, yeah.
Earthly Powers by Anthony Burgess. Come on, and plus all the classics. I didn't even want to go think about the classics.
I know,
because
right?
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So, but thanks very much for coming up with this. Was it Beth who came up with this?
No, Sarita came up with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. It was
really a good exercise, but it was one of the things that when we're on the floor and we're talking about like best books, but like I said, tonight talking with everybody, there's so many more that I had completely forgotten about.
Tomorrow we'll have a whole different list.
I know.
Yeah.
My top two will probably stay my top two though. Those are two that I just am constantly, it's that third one that could just like keep changing. Okay, Amanda. Did you change your mind again?
Sort of. I just wanted to mention I have a Wendell Berry poem that's been sitting on my desk for a while that I took out of the New York Times. The Contrariness of the Mad Farmer. It's really good. I keep reading it, just shaking my head at how brilliant it is.
Yeah. Mad Farmer poems are amazing.
Okay, so yeah, this was hard. My last book is Why Fonts Matter, from Sarah Hindman. And again, this is a book I just keep going back to over and over. She's a graphic designer. She creates multi-sensory installations and immersive events and workshops. Thousands of people have been attending her events during the pandemic online. This is a book that invites you to consider your emotional responses to typography. And it's a beautiful book. So I did want to mention that this would make an awesome gift for anyone who who likes to think about stuff like this. I like this chapter, Type Karaoke. And so you can see here, can you see the same word, hello, in all these different types.
Mhm.
And it invites you to read them aloud. And these are things that you don't think about often, but when you do, you realize how influential typography is all day long, every day in your life. So this is a book from Ginkgo Press that, again, I keep going back to over and over. Really awesome gift. Why fonts matter.
Love it.
Love it.
That's
Okay.
cool.
Let's see if I can do the screen share right after 22 months, for goodness sakes. Jeez, oh, piso. Okay, so my final pick is An Instance of the Finger Post by
Ah.
Ian Pearce.
Another great one. That's a great pick.
I mean, it was just one of those that this book still stays with me. And it's still one that when I'm talking to people, and if they haven't read it yet, to me, it's one of the original, I think somebody mentioned earlier about the original unreliable narrators. These are 4 very unreliable narrators. This was written, I think, in the early 90s, maybe. So he was kind of one of the first ones to do it. 1600s, I think, Oxford, a murder is committed, and the story is told. There are 4 different perspectives of who and what happened for this murder. And in the end, it'll just like blow you away. But it's historical. There's a lot of historical fiction. There's some real people that he's put into this story and tells their stories too. So it's historical fiction. It's a murder mystery. It's men, women. I think my brother-in-law is the one that told me to read it. So it's a great book. Go ahead.
And you
Gabe.
can't say what it's about, or else you give away the whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't. You really can't. And so it's big and thick, and you think, oh my God, I don't want to read this. But as you're reading it, and when you're done, you wish it was even longer because it's just done so well. So yeah. Right, Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those books. So there we have it. I think we did a pretty good job of let me tell you what, I'm surprised. Well, I guess I'm not surprised that none of us really had anything that was overlapping.
We almost overlapped, but we didn't.
Yeah, almost. But like I said, I mean, there was people, like Margaret Atwood. She's got some, the Alice Hall. There's just some people that, didn't make it this time. Yeah. 100. Oh yeah. Shadow of the Wind.
Yeah.
Cutting for Stone.
Kurt Vonnegut.
I mean, there's just so many. There's so many good books out there. But this was a really good exercise. It
was some work. I will say it was some work.
Yeah. Usually we're all just like 5 minutes beforehand going, oh, what are we going to talk about today? Oh, there's some good stuff coming this week. And it's like, now it's just like, ooh, that was a tough one. But
I had it up all day and just pondering back and forth. And then I committed and I made the slide. I'm like, okay,
that's it.
Now for another one. And then like an hour later, I'm like, oh, this one too now. But then you're like, oh, wait, no, maybe this.
No, for me though, my top two, Perfume and Peripheral Me will always say top 2 if somebody's never read them. It's just like, those are just, and Perfume, for those of fair warning on Perfume, it's creepy. And it's like, you gotta don't think it's any kind of light read there. So anyways, continue shopping Christmas gifts. We still are getting books in. So the store's nice and full of books. So anything if we don't have exactly what you're looking for, we can find something for you. So we will see you all next Monday. So happy reading, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.